What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So Switch 2 games that are unannounced are appearing all over the place, mostly from ratings boards, as we just went over, and now probably the biggest one has appeared online, and it has people wondering just how capable the Switch 2 is, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 with that price increase, specifically though, the week leading up to that price increase and the effect on the market that announcement had. And we also have Tomodachi Life that's out today, but reviews did go live, and well, it did better than what it did on the 3DS, which feels like another lifetime ago. But we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. This game came out now more than 2 years ago. And despite what I thought was a good overall 2D Metroidvania game, I mean, critic reception was great. Problem, I guess, is the Ubisoft had higher expectations for sales, didn't necessarily work out, and it was reported that that team was disbanded, and I guess they moved on, at least until now. And this isn't a new report, you can see, over on Gaming Bolt, saying Little Birds allegedly told French outlet Origami that Ubisoft has given the green light to the Core's team reunion, and now they're apparently pitching game ideas. No further details, but the fact that Ubisoft said, hey, you know what, we should get them back together. I don't know, maybe they're looking at some of their past offerings and went, you know, Prince of Persia Lost Crown, which, by the way, continued to gain players. There's a couple million players at least that I've seen in the last update. They looked around and said, hey, that actually was a high-quality game. And you don't always need the big swings of, oh, this thing has to do 10 to 20 million players or sales. I think it's good to have games that are smaller budget that come out more frequently, and maybe their target is, oh, we're going to try to sell 2 million copies instead of 10. So I think something like this is perfect for that sort of expectation, and I would like to see more because, again, it was a very good game. Highly recommended if you find it now in most stores. It's $20 or less. I think at Walmart the other day I walked past, they had like their like the section for bargain bin stuff, and it was $10. Like, yeah, that's obviously worth $10, certainly worth picking up. Also, it looks like a patch is incoming for Yooka RePlaylee on the Switch 2. The game, of course, is like a replay or redo of Yooka-Laylee from, again, another lifetime ago, it feels like, years and years ago. But the big criticism here for the Switch 2 version specifically, it was locked to 30 frames. There was no 60 FPS mode. That seems weird for a 3D platformer game like this. Well, we can see this is over on their social media account, where they put this image up saying, I was told that I played all right, yet performance didn't take flight. Once I stumbled, soon I'll soar. Silky smooth like never before. What am I? Well, probably the Switch 2 version of Yooka RePlaylee. Here's the thing. They do have a stream that's taking place, I think, an hour or two after this video goes live, and they've already hinted at there being some kind of surprise, and I figure that will indeed be a patch for the Switch 2 Yooka RePlaylee that will introduce a 60 FPS mode of some kind, or just make the game 60 FPS, and yeah, then the game would be much, much easier to recommend on the Switch 2, specifically where that game, to be honest, should feel right at home. So good news, but we need confirmation, and I guess we'll see about that here pretty soon. Oh, and we got another sales update for Crimson Desert, which continues to roll along. You can see they put this out saying Crimson Desert has sold through over 5 million copies worldwide. Thank you to every Greymane who has joined us on this journey, experienced the world of Pywell, and supported the game. Reaching this milestone would not have been possible without your support, and we are truly grateful. You know, I am seeing more and more people online come around a bit on Crimson Desert, and it is a game that takes a while to get into, but there is a lot there. I mean, I'm still just kind of going through it, and I've realized now this is a game that I'm probably going to be playing for most of the year on and off. Even now, being more than 50 or so hours in, there's still a lot to do. I'm in like halfway through Chapter 8, coming up on Chapter 9, but it happened where you see something off in the distance, and you just kind of go that way. And you forget, oh yeah, there was a main story, kind of, I think. There was some kind of main path. But you're off doing all kinds of side quests. So I'll be playing this one for a while. But yeah, I mean, obvious success here for Pearl Abyss at this point. 5 million copies already sold. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with more unannounced Switch 2 games that are just appearing online. And we already went through a whole list of them yesterday with large or big ones like Diablo 4. We had Guardians of the Galaxy, Devil May Cry 5. I mean, there are so many that I'm seeing just compilation videos and people just putting up lists on social media just to kind of recount all the games that are out there that are not officially announced for the Switch 2. So I get why people are kind of putting two and two together and going, maybe there's just a partner direct, because we are right now believing that we're not going to see a full general direct from Nintendo until June. There's still like the rest of this month and then May, where maybe you would have third parties want to make some announcements. But now a pretty big game has appeared that has been rumored. Okay, so it's not like this is the first time we heard about this game, but this is like the first tangible evidence that we've seen that this is actually a thing, and it is coming from Microsoft. We can see this is over on Nintendo Everything saying the strongest evidence yet of Starfield coming to Nintendo Switch 2 has come to light following a new rating discovery. Over in Taiwan, a new entry was just added for the game on Nintendo's console. The classification doesn't include any notable information outside of that, and it's unclear when the port would release. So I think Starfield in particular would be an impressive game to get on the Switch 2. I actually think Indiana Jones also an impressive game because that has ray tracing completely baked in. Well, like Star Wars Outlaws does as well, and that has a lot going on when it comes to just streaming the entire world. And even Indiana Jones is rough on most modern day video cards even. Like you see all kinds of benchmarks being run for newer cards. Indiana Jones works its way in there because of a lot of the stuff that it needs for when it comes to the ray tracing side. So that could be really cool. But for Starfield, you know, on the CPU side, that's the thing where people are looking at it going, okay, this could be interesting. And I mean, I know the game itself is already like, it's controversial as it is for if people like it or not. I enjoyed Starfield. I thought it was good. I don't think it was like top tier Bethesda like we've seen in the past. And of course, mind immediately goes to things like Skyrim or Fallout 3. But to me, Starfield was still a very interesting take on the space exploration RPG genre. And it is a game that was pretty tough on hardware. Specifically, though, I like playing it on the Steam Deck. All right, even like the ROG Ally. It's there's some tweaking involved to get it running. And even then, you're looking at like 30 FPS. But those are CPUs that can, for example, say, oh, I want 30 some odd watts of power for this chip to make all this happen. So you're dealing with lower battery life. The thing with the Switch 2 is it's been clocked quite low in order to draw significantly less power than what you see, say, even out of the Steam Deck, which is known to have a lower power draw than things like a big ROG Ally X. So that's one of the reasons this is so intriguing to me, is you just see how they're able to accomplish this on the Switch 2 with its CPU. And while we are seeing a rating here, people are still kind of unsure if this game is actually going to be a thing because of just the way development's going. Remember, Shinobi even came out and said, well, it's kind of like, they're seeing what they can do in development right now behind the scenes. So it didn't necessarily seem as straightforward as, oh yeah, they're going to move it over and it should be good to go. Still though, interesting stuff. We'll see if Bethesda and Microsoft really can get Starfield onto the Switch 2, and if it's something maybe they're lining up for a June announcement, whether it's at Microsoft show or at this Nintendo Direct that we expect to happen to start the summer. Next up, let's talk about that PlayStation 5 price increase that happened at the beginning of April, and we had a warning on this. So sometimes we've seen companies where they announce the price increase and it's already in effect, and the only way you're able to get a system still at that original price before the increase was you got lucky and bought it that week, or you saw rumors going around or an early report that it was going to happen and you acted quickly. Now here, Sony gave people like, 4 or 5 days or something. They gave them some time to go, okay, I do want a PlayStation 5 Pro before it's $900 or something. I'll get it now, or even just a regular PS5, right? So that naturally then led to a pretty large surge in demand and sales, which we can see. This is from Matt Piscatella over on his account saying, unsurprisingly, US weekly unit and dollar sales of PlayStation 5 hardware reached 2026 highs during the week ending April 4th as price increases loomed. US spending on video game hardware for the week nearly doubled when compared to the same week a year ago. All right, and that, of course, source Circana and everything. So my thing with this is I'm curious how I assume this means that we're going to see some inflated sales figures for April when that Circana report comes out. Although sometimes they end up a little bit into the month, so it'll track like 28 days or something of April and then a few days of May. So I'd have to see exactly what their calendar and range of dates that they are tracking for each month. But let's say it's just April, right? So April 1st to the final day of the month. Then you would expect to see some larger than usual PS5 sales at the beginning of the month and not as much later on, but it's all lumped together. And what I'm trying to say is I think May will most likely be a better indicator for where we are when it comes to the market reaction to the PlayStation 5 price increase. Because, I mean, it's an expensive system. And yes, Sony now, we're starting to see, games coming out for them, sure, like Saros coming up here. There's a lot of hype right now I'm seeing building up around Wolverine and Marvel Tokon and stuff. So games are coming out, but I still think the thing that obviously is going to push this system no matter how much it costs is GTA 6, especially if there's a 60 FPS mode on the PS5 Pro. I am genuinely curious to see if there is just like incredible demand for a system that starts at $900 because that is indeed the best way to play the game. Not only offline, think about that. There's going to be an entire online suite that's happening there with people getting on this new GTA Online and maybe looking for the best possible way to play it, competitive advantage or what have you. So that's still going to be, to me, the biggest driving force behind the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Pro, despite increased pricing. And that'll be the thing that'll be at least interesting to see. Otherwise, though, yeah, go figure. Sony says, hey, go out and buy these systems before they jump 20 or 30%, and people did. Next up, let's talk about Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. That is out today, but reviews did go live yesterday, and we can see over on Metacritic, currently sitting at a 78. Now, I will say that is 7 points higher than Tomodachi Life on the 3DS when that came out June 2014, that being at a 71, on even now less critic reviews. So we already see 7 more reviews coming in for the Switch and Switch 2 version of Tomodachi Life Living the Dream there. And if we take a look at some of the reviews, Pocket Tactics gave it a full 100, saying kick back, relax, and get completely stupid, wacky, and weird because the best game of 2026 is here. I can't put this game down, and if you're a fan of life simulators, I just know the same will be true for you too. XGN gave it a 90, saying the game offers a quirky life simulation managing me characters on a lively island, focusing on relationships, humor, and unexpected interactions, though its long-term appeal depends on tolerance for repetition. Now we'll jump over to the opposite end of the review spectrum with some of the lower scores. Eurogamer Portugal gave it a 60, saying living the dream is a social simulation experience in which you take on the role of a godlike figure to create me's and guide them through their lives. Your imagination and patience will be key to defining how interesting it is in the long run. Nintendo Life gave it a 70, saying Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is the strangest thing you'll play from Nintendo, bringing with it laughs and creativity and abundance. But even with improvements over the 3DS game, it follows a familiar structure that isn't always enthralling or hilarious. So to me, with Tomodachi Life, you've probably already decided if you're buying it or not. It's a very particular game. I know it's like the life simulator genre, but even then, very different game than most of the other stuff around it, mostly just because of the quirkiness to it, the humor, sure, and even the presentation of the Mii's and the way that they interact with each other. Fortunately, there is an entire demo that actually had quite a bit of content to it, so you can decide if you like it from there and your save data transfers over. This is just kind of a game where you'll get more out of it, you'll get a lot more out of it depending on how much you put into it, and it's sort of that, the way I see it, like kind of create your own adventure style game, and it does take a lot of creativity and imagination going into it. And I'm not really a big life simulator person. I think the most I was into life simulator stuff would have been, I mean, Animal Crossing was one. I will say recent Animal Crossing, that was definitely pushed by the pandemic in the sense of, oh, we can get together on an island, like the Animal Crossing world and island you can go visit and stuff. And that was cool. But now it's like, I guess, back in the day, Animal Crossing GameCube, The Sims on the PC. But if you're a big Tomodachi Life fan from the 3DS, this just looks like a better game than what you played then in 2014, so you've probably already bought in. At least, hey, came in 7 points higher than it did on the 3DS, and the little square is green this time for Metacritic. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tiers, as we did have the games that were revealed from Sony. These will be going live April 21st, and yes, we did at least had the classic category announced, not games, classic game that was announced. We'll get to that here in a moment, though. We can see over on PlayStation Blog, starting at the top, with the Crew Motorfest. That is on PS5 and PS4. And then we have Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. Now, this is mostly geared towards PS5. They have a little star next to the PS4, but they have Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition available for PS4 players to download. So they are at least still doing something there for last generation gamers at this point, which is interesting because Sony kept talking about how they're going to kind of work away from that, but at least they figured something out here for Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. Also interesting to see that go in because Sony didn't seem thrilled with the result of Forbidden West when that went into PlayStation Plus, but nonetheless, there you go. If you haven't played it, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. And then we have Football Manager 26, that's on PlayStation 5. Warriors Abyss, PS5 and PS4. Squirrel with a Gun. That definitely sounds like a video game. It's on the PS5. The Casting of Frank Stone on the PS5. Monster Train, that's on the PS5. And then PlayStation Plus Premium, Wild Arms 4. PS5 and PS4. I mean, look, it's still a fun game to check out, sure, from the PS2 era, absolutely. My thing with this is they're still doing that offering of, hey, here's one game for the classic category, which is weird to me because at this point, that's what separates premium from extra for me. I'm not using necessarily the game trials or really much of the streaming anymore. Like with my Portal, I do just remote play from my PS5 console. So this is kind of it. This is what keeps me involved with premium. And here's one PS2 game. Again, Wild Arms 4, a fun announcement, but you feel like you throw in a PS1 game along with it, a PSP game. I don't know, something to just add more variety to it, more value at least. Even though a PS1 game, it's like, oh, okay, it could be some bad third-party offering or something. At least it's something else other than just one game. Because that's where we are, and it feels like we're just seeing 12 games a year, I guess, on the premium side for new games. And it doesn't feel like enough for how much PlayStation Plus Premium costs at this point. Otherwise, though, not a bad overall list of games for PlayStation Plus Extra. It's nothing that really, to me, jumps off the page necessarily. Crew Motorfest, that's at least fun, and if you've been curious about Horizon Zero Dawn, there you go. The remastered edition going into PlayStation Plus for you to check out. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you played Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown? Okay, 77% say no, 23% say yes. It is a good Metroidvania game, people, okay? If you just want a game that I think is definitely worth if I look it up on Amazon right now, I think it is still 20 or 30 bucks physically. I think it's worth picking up, even at that price. When it first came out, I was checking it. I was playing the game, right? And it was very, very good. I thought it was worth the launch price, and it's optimized well across the board on all platforms. So if you have a Switch 1 right now, it still runs well there. Like I said, the only thing to me is the main storyline part went maybe just a little, 2 or 3 hours longer than it needed to. Otherwise, though, it's a fun action adventure Metroidvania style game that does have a lot of content even beyond that immediate story that they have in front of you. Also, the visuals, the presentation, swiveling from 2D then into 3D for some of the big moves and sort of the bosses that they have. Really, really cool experience, and I certainly recommend it. Really excited to see what this team, now that apparently they're coming back together, what else they want to do. Is it still Prince of Persia? Do they want to move on to some other stuff? It'd be interesting to see. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Morpheus, who says, I miss a physical keyboard on my phone. I can't type correctly on my touch phone. I heavily rely on autocorrect. Yeah, that's, I don't think you're alone on that one. I mean, it's just the way it is with touch screens. We've gotten used to it. I do remember back in the day, though, with Android phones and you had keyboards, and whether they were flip-up ones or it's just people were still using the Blackberries back then, the iPhone threw a lot of people off because it was just that. You used that as a touch screen. I remember looking at it when it was like this 3.5-inch screen. It's like, there's no way that's going to catch on. But here we are now to where, just about all phones almost, I'd say 90% of them at least, are just touchscreen. There's no keyboard at all. And the ones that do open up, it's just more screen. At least back then it was you open up, oh, there's a keyboard. Not the case here. So I do kind of miss the keyboard, I will say, but I also feel like I've gotten so used to touchscreen typing. And yeah, the autocorrect and the predictive nature of these different OSs on our phones, iOS or Android, have gotten so good that it's kind of solved what I was worried about, which is the idea of a just fully touchscreen keyboard with no real tactile, like no real sensation when it comes to touch or tactile feedback or anything for where exactly you were on that keyboard at any one point. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here on a card, or maybe you want to check out a discussion video around pricing for the PlayStation 6, especially around how things have gone for the PlayStation 5 price this generation. I'll leave that in a video right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.